months ago. When I came to this training, I discovered that there were a few things I've never known before. Before that training, I've never seen, I have never known, because it's evolved and it has been there for years. There are tools that were developed, that we learned about, that I never really knew about. So now all these things, come into play when you have a good organization who is looking at the good of you, the CDB. The act understands that we may be lacking in some aspects, and they felt, okay, you can go for this training. So I was one of the recipients of this training. So now, what's the training about? No, the facilitation skills training was held in Abuja. And it was also held. We were trained by one of the world-class experts. She's a Briton that trained us then. So the participants now have improved knowledge and skills to facilitate training that are participatory and focuses on adult learning principles. We are all adults here, so there are so many principles that you have to adopt when you are training adults, and some of all these key things were delivered to us through this training. So next slide, please. So thank you. I had a mix up earlier. So this is the training I said we had here in this facility. It's around digital marketing skills and training. Now, so I already touched on this. There are a few things we also learned about digital marketing, social media platforms, how to use it efficiently. It's not about, so I also wanted to mention something. We created a hashtag yesterday, @CSOs Reflect. Why am I supposed to use this hashtag? Which one? The @CSOs Reflect hashtag for this years. Did you use it? So I think one of the key things we are failing to understand is, you mentioned something around media. This man taking pictures, cameras, videos, his content may not go for the now. You are here, you want people to know what you are doing. Even the clap sync game we did is something you can, maybe a short video that can also go. People know that you are engaged in this reflection session for 2 days. You should have been on the space, the social media space. Other guys that are here, as you guys are putting in placards, or what do they call this thing? Name tags of your organization. I expect to find maybe the handles, Twitter handles most especially, of your organizations on the table. So other guys can also copy out your handles and follow. We have about 20 participants here. Unfortunately, the Sokoto guys couldn't come, but if they were here and you have about 40 more persons following your handle, it doesn't cost anything. They have free Wi-Fi here. You can just come into your Twitter handle and like your content, also follow you. So if you have 40 more persons following you, that's if the Sokoto guys were here. 40 more persons following you, it's something. More visibility. And there's something we call engagement, there's something we call impression. Impression is how many people have seen that particular content on the web. If I like your content and possibly I retweet your content, I'm retweeting your content to my own audience. My audience sees this retweet. Oh, something like this is going on. Wow, this is interesting. So see, this act also does something like this. And we also have the act handle here, this Civic Action NG. How many of you are following Civic Action NG? A few of us here are following Civic Action NG. So now you are following Civic Action NG. What have you done? What action have you taken? So I think some of all these things also hampers our growth when it comes to reachability. Letting people see what we are doing. Yesterday, my organization posted something around. I did that for my organization. Posted something around this internship program we have, the 5 months internship program. So I tagged UNFPA. I also tagged this World Evaluation Organization in Sri Lanka. Funny enough, to my surprise, they retweeted. Sri Lanka's Evaluation Association retweeted. UNFPA liked the content. So you may not be too sure of what will happen to your content. We are here, we are gathered. What is the topic of the session? Probably, okay, you can ask me. Then, let me give you a quick tip. When I used to be very active in social media, I may not have enough followers, for example. I'm a bit withdrawn when it comes. But when it comes to the organization, I grow the organization with. But personally, I don't care about social media. But then when it comes to the organization, I go and meet you. Like sorry,
Newton.
Newton was discussing yesterday. What were the topics he was discussing? You can go to Newton. Newton, please. Can you write your Twitter handle? But if everybody had their Twitter handles, like this man wrote Powerful Chi, underneath it, you have your Twitter handle underneath that Powerful Chi. You don't need to go meet him again. You just say maybe he's having a session or he's discussing around this sustainability yesterday. Oh, Powerful Chi at Powerful Chi discusses about sustainability at the Civic NG reflection, Civic NG hashtag at CSOs reflect session here in Lagos, hashtag Lagos. And why you're hashtagging now, this is turning almost into a session for social media. Why you're hashtagging is for more reach. Now, I might have used that hashtag in the past. You might have used the hashtag. People in the US might have used the hashtag. When you're using that hashtag and somebody is looking for that particular topic, and the hashtag, and the hashtag at CSOs, every tweet under that hashtag CSOs will be made public to you in order of relevance, it will be in order of reach. Maybe you are an influential person. Now, if Bill Gates uses this hashtag now, and me, that I don't have any gates, use the hashtag, whose content comes first? Bill Gates' content. You see his own first, because he has more followers, he has many things that he has done in the past with his handle. So I would encourage us to take it very seriously. In the end, you probably may not even need I'm not saying you're not going to need media, don't get me wrong. You are going to need them every single step of the way. You're going to need them. So, but I think we need to be much more active on social media. I go to meet them, I discuss with them. So, what are you talking about? I take pictures. In fact, that was actually what got me my permanent job for Connected Women at that time. I was just called to go for an event. I think the event was held by Budget and Paradigm Initiative. Who knows Paradigm Initiative? And EIE. You know EIE as well. So I went for that event in 2016. When I got there, I was tweeting, I was taking pictures of the people handling sessions. I think El Rufai was also in the session then. I Googled El Rufai Twitter. You just go on Google. Some of these things you don't even need to ask people. Just go on Google. El Rufai's Twitter handle. It gives it to you, copy it out, put it on your tweet. And my company was now looking at it, they were like, this guy, we never do this work before. They now called me, and I read sociology. I was in my boss's car, and he was telling me, social media strategies. I didn't even know that was the title they wanted to give until I saw my letter. So I think we need to be very active about some of all these key things. The next slide. So now, I mentioned something earlier, but this is a very different one, just to also aid the learning process that we have. Now, another set of organizations, we have 5 selected CDP partners. I've now created a platform. Now, the COP I mentioned earlier is quite different from this platform. This platform now is a learning platform. The COP, you can reach out to the COP and say, my organization needs training on social inclusion or M&E. So you are reaching out to that individual organization on their own. But this is a learning platform, a learning management system that is developed by 5 select CDPs. And the modules or the topics that are going to be on that platform or the management system are prescripted here. We have the gender and social inclusion, we have financial management, social research and analysis, advocacy and right-based approach, and proposal writing. I don't know how the platform looks like, but it is basically a learning platform where you can go, probably self-paced, with 3 weeks course. You're going to take a course, and I presume it's going to have a certificate. Is it? Yeah. So it's going to be having a certificate at the end of the day. We also have that kind of platform in Chrome's House, Nigeria. We have our basic monitor and evaluation online class. We also have our results-based monitor and evaluation online class. So I think this will also take a shade of that kind of platform you're using. So it might be self-paced, self-paced class at yourself, but it is 3 weeks old. But whatever, if they give you prevention, I'm giving week 1, and I decide to finish my week 1 within 2 days, I can decide to watch the videos and answer within 2 days because I may not be available for the next 5 days in that week. So Art again has done something very, very interesting to bring up this e-learning class. I can call it class or management system. Learning management, that's a very, very good name. Learning management system. It also manages your learning cycle as well, as well as the information. So this is what we are presenting to you as members of the CDP. I mentioned CDP, I mentioned COP, I mentioned LMS. So who can give me the breakdown of LMS, CDP, and COP? Madam, can you try?
Just tell me the meaning of COP.
COP is community of practice.
Yes, CDP.
CDP is capacity and development providers. Then learning management system.
A round of applause for her.
Thank you.
It's also very good to know that as we are learning, we're also paying attention. Without when I lost my pops, let me say something. When I lost my dad, then in Lagos, I'm in Lagosian actually, then in Agege. So I live with his friend. In my own house, when we are going to church on Sunday, like tomorrow, we don't eat to church. Like we fast to church when you now come home. But when I lost my posse, the person I was staying with, his friend, he's also an elder, just as my posse is an elder. My posse is a witness. I attend the apostolic church. So, but when I got there, nothing like you don't eat to church. You will eat to church. We in my own house, we cook to school. We take food from the house to school. But then they will give you money. So you have different shades of things, but we are the same church. In my own house, if you come back from school, you also get money. But if you come back from school, that food you took to school, there's one that has been kept for you in the evening. So different strokes for different folks. So, but we need to also pass through these stages. And when eventually you go to church, you did not eat your food, or maybe you are writing exams. Mommy of blessed memory, I will tell you that no, that you must eat, because if you don't eat to exam hall, you won't have anything to write down. So it's good that we had our breakfast before coming to have this CDP. A round of applause for everyone. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, apologies. I was supposed to give room for questions. So, yeah, apologies.
Thank you very much. And we talked about the social media not out of place at all. For somebody like me, I don't know, I need serious deliverance to appreciate social media. I need it seriously. I believe I will achieve it. We made mention of communities of practice, right? Yes. If you want to access their services, like Tango in the State, now we have University of Benin.
Yes.
Can we, is it going to be free services? I know the e-learning definitely, but that might be free. But for this couple of practice, I want to access them. Is it going to be free?
Thank you very much. I'll take the questions.
Level.
Yes, I'm going to attend to the questions one after the other. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be free because the COP now was created from an extraction of the CDPs. So we have a platform, a website. So the website, the profile of the organizations forming that COP will be on that website. Already my own organization is a for-profit organization. ACT is not giving us money to do anything. ACT may sponsor our training. ACT may, do just as I am here now. I'm not coming here with my own money. ACT has sponsored me to come here. So now, as a for-profit organization, AUN is also a for-profit organization. You know who owns AUN? So Benin Observatory Center is also for profit. So you won't, because ACT brought us together does not mean ACT has deposited some chunk of money to seal kill for the years that we are not going to be in service. You have to be running free service to our CSOs. Are you getting the, so you will reach out to them and eventually tell you, okay, I'm going to be training, you want to train 5 members in your organization, okay, we can give you at a subsidized rate. Interestingly, let me mention this thing. When I think that's why it's very. I think it was Tobashi that was mentioning something 2 days ago, probably because maybe you guys were not around then. So he mentioned that in your compendium, or I can't even really remember, but you need to show to act that you have something unique, and that is what founders want to see. Recently, before, because I've been in the development space too for quite some time, so now if you look at connected development, they have follow the money. Who has ever followed the money here? So that's a product, that's a brainchild of follow the money, of connected development. So people now know follow the money more than even connected development. If you like PPDC, who knows PPDC here? PPDC has what we call Budeshi. So it's an app that's okay, you want to know about procurement services in Nigeria, how many has been committed to this service, how many have been used, how much has been used, apologies, how much have been used for this one. So Budeshi is an app on its own. Budget also has tracker. You understand? So when you present your proposal to a funder, for example, you say you have this, you have tracker, you have Budeshi, you have this, an app on its own that you can use, can get you real-time information. It gives you much more level of leverage to even nicking that fund that you're requesting for. So when ACT approached us during the coronavirus time, we were still hustling and bustling, and we were expecting other projects to come in from different states. But the coronavirus came and it eroded so many of our plans. But before then, ACT came, we had a meeting, and they said, okay, we are planning on, and that is one thing about ACT. It's not because I am here. One thing I've discovered is they constantly want to train the CSOs. Some of the trainings you might have attended in the past, I've never heard about the training. 2 nights ago, we were having dinner for Lagos State. The lady was now telling, the anchor said, okay, tell us a fun thing about the training you attended. So she was now talking about how the trainers trained them in a very funny manner. So that training, I never heard about training, which is a very good one. ACT now told us that they want to have CSOs from Kano looking at the coronavirus time. We may not be able to have a physical training. So do we have a platform where we can learn? To be frank with you guys here, the platform was not available at that time. But we told them we had a platform. You understand? But we worked on it and we delivered. So that was actually what gave birth to our online training platform. Until today, yeah, and that is me being honest. So until today, now ACT, the participant, the CSO participants from Kano State, I think it was only Kano State, about 24 of them, were the first cohort to use that platform, the training platform. So if peradventure you go, you come to close out that you need train on, you want to apply for the online business, you will probably see the part where you have the ACT CSO training that was designed specifically for the ACT participants from Kano State. Then we now began to re-engineer what is on that platform. So I think proactiveness, if you don't know something, you can ask around. I've been here for some days, probably because I did not also mention that I can give assistance on probably your social media, how to maybe use Twitter correctly and the rest. So if you need to push out content, if you have your organization's Twitter handle, how do you start your tweets? How do you start making tweets? Putting into consideration that you also have to know the number of characters that Twitter can also capture or take. You understand? So to your question, organizations have come to form. They are for profit. There is no NGO. They are learning institutions. There is no NGO within those 11 CDPs. So when you are now coming to provide services, let's know that we are coming for the ego. You understand? It might be at subsidized rates. It might be. You understand? So thank you very much.
Sorry, Shegun. Just to add to what Shegun said, so when we pilot the e-learning platform, well, like you said, the organizations are for profit, so we don't expect them to provide their services for free. But at the point of where we would launch the platforms, there will be the linkage between the CDPs and the ACT supported CSOs. So maybe at that point, there might be some kind of reduction for our own CSOs, but I mean, they would have to factor in the profit they would make for their organization. So just have that in mind. And then we might, there's a possibility that we would have some pilot courses on the platform. So those ones could be free, but I'm not saying categorically though, but they could be free. But the community of practice platform is just a platform where you would come learn. It's a free platform, so you don't have to pay anything to join the platform. So once it's made public, we would have CSOs join. Even other CSOs that are not ACT supported CSOs would have the opportunity to be on that platform as well. We'll also make it open to other training institutions, other resource centers that are not amongst the 11 that we have currently to also be on that platform. So just provide that context as well.
Well, this, I want to ask a general question. Mary might answer it or damn it, so that people can benefit from it. I'm also thinking that in writing your proposals, it's not about act now. When you're writing your proposals, and you can actually write some of these what call it CDPs, for instance, the Uniben stuff into your proposal, and they will be part of the company that will do the trade that you have in your proposal. If you get that proposal, I don't think you need to pay them anymore because they're already part of the proposal. I think that is also the strategy you use in working with media components. If you are writing proposal, instead of the media coming to your meetings to ask you for your red and white envelope, you've already written them into your proposal. They are parts of that your project. So they will take responsibility for the media component of that project A to Z. And in that case, you don't need to pay them extra money for the work they will be providing for you. These are some of the ways you can jump that hurdles of trying to negotiate price and what have you. I don't know whether that is working, but I think it worked in one of my projects.
Well, wherever works is best to use the strategy that you think is going to work. Because CSOs too, with the social work, even in this field that I've been working in the development space, there are times where you want to bid for a project and your capacity, yeah, you may have the skill sets, but what do they want to see? They want to see organizations that also worked in that project in the past, writing that proposal. But because you have let's say you have the past questions, for example, to an exam, but you are not of age to write that exam, you look for somebody that is of age. You understand? Take this past question, go and write on idea, let's now share the game. So that's some of the strategies or key strategies that we can also adopt. So I'll be willing to have questions if you have any. The COP, the COP platform actually is currently being developed. It is different from the LMS. The LMS is like a learning platform on its own, but the COP is a visibility website where you can see what we are doing. Now, a quick tip is that on the website, the COP website, I'm not talking about LMS. LMS is a training platform entirely. But the COP, the website for the COP, also houses some resources. Now you want to have resources, you want to learn how to maybe measure the population for your sampling, what ratio of the population should be in your usually stratified kind of sampling. So all these things around M&E and indigenous M&E. You understand? So if you now want to have information around those things, those resources will be made available on that web page. And you can also now interact with the organization that you want to take it further. I hope I'm a bit clear. All right, thank you so much. In the absence of no other questions, please give a round of applause for Pomo. So in the evening, I'm sorry, I want to take meetings position. We're going to be having dinner, and I've heard that you guys are going to be looking all glamorous and everything. We're also going to be having another set of game. So brace up. One good thing about the Edo person. It's one of my best friends, God bless his soul, in the uni, Johnson Asweni man. I don't even know where he's from. He's from Edo, but I don't know. Asweni man. He's a very, in fact, we co-wrote my last project when I was in the uni. But well, may God rest his soul. I lost him during the last few months to graduation. So, but I used to like Edo people. In fact, my first girlfriend is from Okwela. So, but they live in Benin. So now I know we are very active. So in the evening there will be a very active game that we're going to be playing. So brace up for that time. Thank you very much.
All right. So yesterday we gave you, or you were tasked to do some group work. So that is what we're going into now, so that we can look at it. We've got group 2. Yeah. Just a reminder, we've got like 5 thematic topics that we're supposed to look at and see how you've been doing this before your engagement with ACT, and then after your engagement with ACT. I think we've got government engagement, media, citizen, and gender and social inclusion. I think the 5th one, regulatory environment. So we just want you to take us through this. So without wasting too much time, let's have group 2. Can we clap for them, please?
Adoga in the house to present for Group 2, privileged to represent Group 2. As already noted, we had a discussion, and after EU at engagement on these thematic areas, the citizen engagement, government engagement, and 3, regulatory environment, 4, gender and social inclusion, and the 5th is media engagement and partnership. With the first one, citizen engagement, after discussion, we saw that there is absence of tracking funds for those of the CSOs who are having intervention with adolescents in school, and they saw that before the training, MIA training, there was no MIS tools to track the engagement with the students. So after that training, they saw a need and they developed tools to track their engagement with the stakeholders or the students that they were benefiting. They also saw as number 2, there was no manual for training. They just do it on ad hoc basis at their will. But after the MIE training, they now saw a need to have a training manual, and that was what was developed thereafter. Number 3, before the project cycle management, there was no involvement of stakeholders in their project design. They just sit in their office, check some data, and then they just feel that it's something that they can do in XYZ community, and they go ahead to engage them. But after that project management training, they saw a need to engage their stakeholders so that the stakeholders will buy in and own the project for sustainability. Next slide. And still on the citizen engagement, before then, there was no advocacy plan. You just go run advocacy on ad hoc basis with the citizen and they do it for them. But then, after which they have advocacy plan, they do their mapping and all of that processes in advocacy. And then on government engagement, there was no engagement, there was engagement with policymakers on ad hoc basis. They just go knock on the office and talk. Possibly it doesn't make sense, and they keep going again and again. They are not getting results. But they have now made a plan, advocacy plan, so as they can engage their policymakers strategically with existing data, and they are having results, or we are having results. Number two, there was no advocacy was done for the beneficiaries, but then after the advocacy and media training, we had the need to begin to involve the beneficiaries so that they can speak for themselves and also be in the process of getting things changed for them. Number three, no involvement of government MBAs in the project implementation. They just go report to them, this is what we've done, and sometimes they are skeptical to buy in. But we saw a need to involve them, sometimes in the planning process and other implementation project phases, so that they can continue to contribute their quota. Next slide, please. Still on government engagement, before then, engagement with policymakers was still on ad hoc basis, just like what it is in the citizen engagement. But there is a strategic plan to engage the policymakers. And then non-involvement of government NDAs in project. Sorry, us. And due to improved NGOs accountability system, there is improved legitimacy of NGOs in engagement with the NDAs. Next slide, please. Then under the regulatory environment, many CSOs do not have SCUM certificates. And then later in the peer learning section, they saw that some were able to get, and the rest were now eager to also be in the process of getting theirs, and many have got their SCUM certificates. Number two, the organization did not have task clearance certificates or exemption certificates rather for the organization, and then two now have, that is as a result of the PNL section that we also had at the state level. Number three, many of the CSOs do not file returns to CAC, and they now saw a need, having engaged in a series of online meetings with EU Act, with the FROS. They saw the need and they see it's simple to get. And two organizations have successfully completed their filing with CAC. Under the number four thematic area, we have the gender and social inclusion. Before now, some organizations do not have RAM for those who are persons living with disabilities, with their wheelchair. And then they now saw a need to now design RAM so that it is social inclusive. And for those people living with disability, they can easily access their offices. Number two, there was no provision for capturing PWDs in their intervention when they come to participate. So at the end of the day, they cannot tell how many participated who are members or who are persons living with disability. But there are tools now, there are MIS tools. I've copied from the EU attendance sheet and other MIS tools that they've seen. They also developed it. In view of the training they also got from the GSI. Three, engagement with PWDs was done by individuals. They just see anybody, can you invite another person we have a training for you guys, come and join us. But if they saw that they are not really meeting the right persons, so they now, with the training, after the training, they are now engaging the leaders of the network or the group and individuals in the rural communities who are their target group. Still on the gender and social inclusion, there was no provision for aid for people living with disabilities. Those who come with them, the blind ones, they are guides. The people who are on wheelchairs, they are those who will roll it for them. The deaf, they need persons who will interpret. And at the end, they come, they go, no, possibly if it's a hotel room, it's just one, and maybe there's no other extra room for the person, or even transport support. They now saw a need to begin to allocate budgetary provisions for people who support them as a way to carry everyone along. Then on the fifth thematic area, next slide please. There was no visibility in social media outside Facebook, only Facebook then, before the EU Act engagement. So after the advocacy and media engagement training, yes, many of them are now having other platforms, other social media handles like Twitter and the rest of them. No media engagement strategy in place for many organizations, but now they have that strategy properly documented. No media engagement in project design. They do not include it like Mr. Newton just mentioned, including those costs. But now they have it in some of the proposals they've written and have won. They have it embedded in their budget. Next slide, please. On that note, we say with EU Act, we are a team. Yes, together, everyone achieves more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please still hold the mic. Don't mute your mic yet. Let's clap for them once more. I think this is a good presentation. I had some initial concern at the initial stage, but I didn't want to break that beautiful flow we're having from you. I think for us and then for everybody to be quite useful if you actually provide more information on some of the things you've given. I seem to get the how for each of the thematic, but we'd love to have more of like what. A very good example, and I think I hope you'll be able to provide that instantly now. In terms of the CSOs or the NGOs who completed their school registration, I mean, I had to ask Newton how many CSOs were in your group, and he said 9. So for me, it would be very nice to hear that, okay, before your engagement with EU Act, no NGO with that completed theirs. But now, 9 out of the 9 members, rather some have done it, some have. So I got a lot of some from you. But for me, I think things like that, you could be more specific in terms of that. That's one aspect. And that's why I say you should hold your mic. I know you still have like 5 minutes or more. And then I know we've talked about some examples earlier where individual CSOs were given some of the things they've done individually. Again, to be nice, because now we are going into some areas we haven't really dwelled into earlier. It would be nice for you to actually give us cite 1 or 2 examples to buttress some of this, rather than a blank, before we weren't doing this, now we're doing this. But we like to just have a few examples. So if we could go back to the first slide, because I mean, like I've been saying since we started, the whole idea is for us to share learning, share experience, and see. So for instance, absence of tracking forms to mention engagement, okay, maybe that's straightforward. And if you are able to provide that context into, oh, okay, now we didn't used to engage, we didn't have any form to track what was that tracking for, and then you give us that example. But by and large, we could put some numbers to some of the individual CSOs that achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll update.
Okay, before we throw it to others, a quick one. Your GNSI session. First and foremost, GNSI is not just about PWDs. So the focus was the focus was more
the agent too.
okay. The focus was more on PWDs or all through. It's fine, but if you can also provide context around what you did with women and others. Okay, then your GNSI also, I was trying to see what framework is now helping you to do what you're doing right now. Because I know in Edo we had training on GNSI, and also the coaching and mentoring exercise also help some of you to develop GNSI policy. So we didn't get that part of it. What role those documents are actually playing in making you to consider these results we're seeing right now. So that's just one comment. So it's open to the floor now if you want to ask questions. Anybody? Okay. Can I say you should take it back? Nobody is asking a question.
No, but I have asked a few questions.
Okay,
so.
Okay, yes. Because I'm representing the group, I will not be exact with all the correct figures. So it's good I consult and then put it on paper.
Absolutely.
Send live Mohammed.
Thank you. Good morning. Very good presentation. The other field that you needed to fill, I think, is a very important one for you, just for us to have that context. And just also to go back to the media side, you talked more about the social media and the media strategy. And I was also trying to see where the CSOs and media, are they working together now? Is there anything that is happening with regards to how you are collaborating with Edo State, with regards to how you engage with media? Is media more receptive now as a result of the training that you have done? And I believe that they were also in Abuja, they were part of those that were trained, the media and CSO training. I'm sure you participated in it. What is happening as a result of that? If not you, somebody from the organization. To be good to have something like that, few information, if anything is working well. So that, thank you.
Noted.
Okay, I think Thomas, what we expect them to do is to reward this and send it back to us, right? Providing those things.
So okay, good. I actually noted that in terms of yes, this presentation is fine as it is, but maybe submitting the final one. You know, you've done a very colorful, and we're all commending you for this here, quite appealing. What it could do for us is you've got like 2 columns right now, where before and then after, and then maybe you could create a 3rd column where you could just cite examples. I know it might not be the same across all CSOs within that group, but just cite 1 or 2 examples that speak to that. Some you may not have, then we know that it's more of a broad thing that you've talked about. I mean, I would look at project design was not done without the involvement of stakeholders. And I would like to believe, I'd slightly like to disagree in the sense that I know you are not new into community work. You've been doing all these things. But then you came and then enhance more or less. It's not like you are from 0 capacity, no, more or less enhance. So I'd like to disagree that project design wasn't done without involvement. But now you've taken it to a higher level. So you could just give us that instance where you've taken it to a higher level, and we appreciate that. So yes, Newton, they can rework it and then provide those key examples. why this is good for us is, it's not, I mean, we're just, let's say we're about 30 in this room, but your work can speak to you, can speak to millions of people. Your work can speak to millions of people. And that is where, I mean, we've talked about this, that is where documentation comes in. You could develop, for instance, you could develop case studies in some of these things. But when it comes to case studies, you need specific examples. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So you need specific examples, and that's why we're happy to know that things are moving, but we would like to have examples of where things are happening. We're happy to know the numbers of CSOs who are now more compliant with the regulations and things like that. So it's not just that, well, we were not, now we were. It's a bit, it's nothing complete.
That was stated, said two.
Yes, there was
That
one
was
we
stated.
mentioned two. Yeah. But
The
again,
school-
this is based on our group. That the number we would represent later is based on on our group, not the general.
Based on your
Yeah,
groups.
it's out of 9.
Based on your
Yeah, out
groups.
of 9, we said school working 2, then filing of returns 2.
Although some have already complied before the intervention of the
Yes.
so we will not capture that. But out of the 9, maybe 4 were not, and 2 have passed the benchmark.
So we need to understand very well. So that if you are in your group, and before this intervention, 7 had already complied. So that means we've got 2 only that we're preaching to. Are we getting me?
Yes.
We got only 2. Now we want to know, are those 2 now on board? Or they are still trying to struggle? So you need to clarify that for us. It will be quite useful for us to have that. Talking about context, exactly. Thank you very much. Let's clap for them. So you can take his bow now. Our Honorable Minister, mute your mic. All right, Group 1.
Group 1, are we ready?
Who is the Secretary General for Group 1?
Okay, still working.
Is he work in progress? Sorry? No, we send you back to
His Excellency, okay, the governor of Edo,
Are you afraid?
It is my Lord Bishop that is representing.
This is not my presentation. My own is not this fine. So give me my.
Put some caveat on it.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Group 1 presentation. How many were we? 8, 9? I think about 8 of us yesterday. We did we have before and after. So the first slide will show you what was the position before the intervention, so after the training. And for those who are now implementing projects, also we spoke more about them. So for the first area, citizens engagement, so we did not see the relevance of giving feedback to the community. And after work, we just go and we disseminate or report back to them. Also, we're only involving them in this assessment and education, in that once we engage them, most times when you want to design a proposal, you assume you know what they want. As a matter of fact, some of us wrote proposals from the office. That's the truth. Because you are skilled, you see that you craft it, and it flies. It flies, So they're not involved in the actual design, the objectives, every other thing in it, and to even how you sustain. But after, next slide, after the trainings, which were very, very comprehensive and practical, we saw the need for not just working for them, but working with them, advocating for them, also advocating with them. So we now deliberately engage them in this assessment to know what is the real needs, not just the observed or the felt needs, real, and also provide regular feedback to those who cannot take the message back to the committee members. For this, we see that because we are now more accountable, because we're actually impressed on that. Not just to your donors, maybe the government, other CSOs, those persons you are working with, you owe them that duty to tell them what you have done. Also, they must also endorse your project, whether it's successful. If they are not happy with it, even if your donor gives you pass mark, the committee must also endorse that. So that's for the first area. For government engagement, yeah, we were not doing much with the government, and for those who were involved, like next gen, most of us actually work at the local government level. Feel once you can get the local government officers to your project, you're okay. So at the state level, not really doing much. But after the trainings on advocacy, it was very important for us to know that we must take it to the state level, especially when it comes to look at those government policies that have to do with that area. For example, in health, we discussed that yesterday. There is a policy in the state that says children below 5 years and pregnant women free health services. But at that level, the community, the PHC, they still pay money every day. And found out that they will tell you the state government who put that law, what that policy that is free, gave the PHCs targets every month. So they will not pay from their pockets. They will, charge these pregnant women and children when they come. So we're already working on that now, as you see. After like for the organization working on next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, working on primary health and mother and child health. They are actually now involving the Ministry of Health in their interventions. And even MOUs you signed, there's a place I mentioned that here. Yes, for the government to participate in the project. So for now, they are making sure those PHCs that are involved in charging fees that will relate into. So they didn't just invite them, but they signed some agreement with them. Also for that same organization, they were able to meet the legislators, as the House Committee on Health, about this particular matter, and the commissioner. Go back please. For one of the organizations, except because of the community engagement in the first area, they now saw the need to engage more with the government. So one thing led to another, because they formed what they call the Community Governance Council that could meet with the LG officials and talk about their needs that will come out in the budget for the state. But budget is being produced at the state level. So you now find a situation where that same committee will have to engage with the state government. So we are seeing more need to work with the state government, not just stop at the local government level. And that committee that council is being registered, so you can now formalize the relationship with both the state and local government. Next slide. For sexual and gender-based violence, one of us working actively in that area. Now, after the trainings, and even the EU actors also on these aspects, they now engage the government directly and more. For the Ministry of Education, after the engagement, the ministry now actively, refer cases to them and bring into the center they can receive care, as you can see. And for the Ministry of Justice that was just quiet about it, they now prosecute cases on their own without financial support from the organization, and also they are now updating the offenders register. So once you are you're caught and your case goes to court, your name appears in that register. So these are practical and tangible things you can see coming out from the engagement with the government. Next slide. Regulating environment. Okay, we're doing fairly well, but some of us mentioned the issue of pay, so that's pay, not pay as you earn. The fact that when we are CSOs, we don't pay tax. That was understanding. But after the engagement, we found that once you are earning, the staff themselves, salary, they must pay tax, which they can deduct from the rules based on. Okay. And also, I think just two of us didn't have some BFC documents. That's COP and NCD, yes. But after, yes, after please. Yes, we are not remitting pay. Of course, you have to have their team numbers first, and also with unit tasks from the vendors who they are engaged, both for services and who supply and so goods. They are doing that. If they are individuals, it's 5%, and if they are corporated, 10%. Now, for those two, their scrum is they've applied, been processed, they've done necessary things. They are waiting to collect the certificate. And also for us, we saw the pair learning sessions in Edo State as a way we can call it self-regulate what we're doing, because we learn from each other. You know, even the aspect of the tax deduction. When we saw those two found out that others were doing it, they had to also borrow and do the same thing. And also how we report, even carry out the administration of our organizations, we learn that from each other during the pair sessions. For us, the way we can self-regulate ourselves in the state. Next slide. Gender and social inclusion. And generally, the idea was that we're not too sensitive, use that word. We're not too concerned, just meet donor requirements and we'll go. But after that, there'll be some changes that we'll see. And also for some of us that work with different groups, you know, we just group them together. And they were complaining, they felt that they should be engaged separately. You know, that was the feedback. So after the engagement, what we have is that, next slide, we are now more conscious about gender issues and our engagement. For COF, this started with their own team structure. It was more of men, but they now have the team itself, a balanced gender arrangement where other groups are involved. For one of us, during the flag off event for the UAC project, that the guest speaker was even somebody living with disabilities. She had to be, though they could not get a building that has the she was taken up, and she actually spoke a lot about the issues with that they face. Like somebody mentioned, it's not about people living with disability, but because their project is targeting them, so they have to be represented. Yes, for the groups that had the complaint, where you have all these different groups merged together, they are now being engaged separately, so they are more comfortable to speak up. And also, we now have WhatsApp group for individual target groups, so they can participate more since it's virtual. Next slide. Media partnership and engagement. Yeah, for us, we're not really utilizing the power and the reach of the media, and also for visibility. Most persons were not really concerned about social media. The man that spoke and said he needs deliverance was actually from our group. Yeah, well, after the trainings and the engagement, there's some change, facts changes. So next slide. Okay. Yeah, increased engagement with media. For global women development, the last event which I was part of, that 4 media houses represented, 4, including the National News and they were there, 4. It had not happened before. So you have both the print, electronic media in that event. For Next Gen, their flag off, for the first time ever, they had print media around. That story was carried both on the online platform, also on the print platform. For some of us who are already involved, we didn't need to put that because just more awareness. For the social media handles, yes, now more regular, more flooded for Next Gen, for global women. Those who were not so present, they are not present, both Facebook, WhatsApp, and even the YouTube channel. I think this is the last slide. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hold the mic. Let me off the mic.
Thank you very much. I'm sure even the audience will have one or two questions for you. Thank you very much. I think this is progress, giving us some interesting developments as far as your group is concerned. Just some general questions here. I like the idea of now engaging more the citizens in your planning and in terms of them being participatory in your planning. And then you talked about regular feedback. I think I want to wear, I don't know whether he is in the room, I want to wear his cap in terms of, okay, if we actually come to your office, for instance, and you told us, oh, you do regular feedback. Okay, let's what mechanism, what evidence do you have for this sort of regular feedback? So it's not just regular feedback in the head. So we'll be happy to hear that. Then there's this, you know, it's when you do reflection, you just have to be very honest with yourselves. And I like the idea of, oh, before we used to have proposals, we sit in our offices, we develop, and then the rider was that, and it flies. That means you've written proposals in your room, and then you're able to get the grant for whatever reasons. So for me, it's like, okay, what's the major difference now that you are engaging them? It's specific major difference in that one that you are doing that was flying, and this one that they are doing with, and that you are engaging the people. If you engage people and you still do not get your proposals does not fly, will you likely go back to the one that was flying before that you already engaging people? So like it to be very honest in this. Then in terms of the regulatory environment, it's good to know the registration for school and other things that are going on. But beyond that, we would like to also know what is your relationship with the regulators. So it's not there on your parts, you are making progress. But we also want to know in terms of your relationship, do you have that open door, you could go to them, they are listening to you, they are helping you to even change policy within Edo State. Because that's one part of the regulatory environment. So one part is that you are complying, you are conforming to the rules. But are the regulators also, are they changing? Are they changing in such a way that now they are more receptive to CSOs, to NGO? It would be nice to hear that. And then gender and social inclusion. When you mentioned I had to look at AFSAT issues because I think it's been stretched, and I think Nito even said it earlier that it's not even PW gates only. We've had some interesting examples of some social inclusion, gender and social inclusions. There's a particular state, I've forgotten the state now, where they said they push for paternity leave. So that's also social inclusion. So for people like me, if I know it's in my state now that they will give me 3 months of leave, I'll just quickly go and talk to my wife. Seriously, to myself. And then, so we also want to hear examples like that. So it's not just about the people with living with disability. Yes. Thank you very much. So you could talk to that, or if any member of your group is also disposed to talk about that.
So group members.
All of them.
I wasn't actually here when the presentation started, so yeah, I will just go to the last part. But again, I'll speak to something that has resonated commonly amongst all the states. And maybe I've said this before, but I'm going to reiterate the issue of attribution and contribution. For us, I think it's very important. Remember, we said this reflection meeting is about us generating, if possible, outcome level information for ACT, ideas for our knowledge products, you know. So there are things that civil society organizations would mention. It goes into each other because it's interwoven. You may have been doing some of these things before, and then ACT comes along, and perhaps you are now doing it better. So it is that better, that aspect of better, that we would want you to help us pull out. It helps us. So I know that the purpose for civil society, probably working in the state, is to engage with stakeholders. That includes government, that includes citizens. So it would sound somehow if we would think that it was because of the coming of ACT that the organizations are now engaging with government or with citizens or generating information from communities. These are things you have been doing, you have existed for. But what is that one thing that is now uniquely different from what you have been doing over time as a result of either the trainings or the grant that you are implementing? And finding that one thing is actually very difficult. Very difficult, and that's why I said interwoven. And that's why I would like, when we speak, we have at the back of our mind that principle of attribution and contribution. What can we attribute directly to ACT? And then we would say, as a result of our intervention, either our capacity building or the grant, this is what we are getting. And then what did our training contribute to? It could be somebody else's work. Yesterday there were examples of, somebody made an example of something they were about to do with a proposal, and then ACT came, and all of a sudden they knew how to do it better. I don't know if it was this group or another. So that's contribution. So there was funding for it, but the trainings we provided further elaborated their efficiency to perform that task very well. So that's contribution. We would not be attributing the result of that activity to ACT, but we would say ACT has contributed to it. So that's it might not be something we bring out clearly now, but I'm saying it in the event that we write our reports, our grant reports, make it come out clearly so that we're not claiming other people's results, people who may have, or sometimes you find NGOs providing the same report for different donors, and then it becomes a confusion, and it is, who did this, who supported this, I gave money for this, why are you writing this? You know, it's then Talashe spoke about gender. I always have different examples of how we should look at gender issues. So it's also the same thing, not just ticking the box about how many more women come to our meetings, how many persons with disability are we now working with. It is, maybe I've said it yesterday, I don't know. Now the groups, it's so confusing in my head. It is about what are we doing deliberately to ensure that we are including marginalized groups. And that particular thing, that deliberate thing, is what needs capturing. Let me give an example, another story. When I was working in Kano, we created a gender and social inclusion group. At that point, I always thought to myself that I was a gender expert. So we would say that, affirmative action for women. And we'd go to government and say, 40% of this employment must be women. And you know, we thought that's gender and social inclusion, we're advocating correctly. Then we got to a point where we said to ourselves, let's have a social inclusion forum. Let's have a big event. And somebody just said, let's announce on the radio that anybody who feels marginalized should come to that event. And we did that announcement on radio. And people came, loads of people, but we said leadership of marginalized groups, because you know we cannot cater for everybody. And we were using a hotel, and all of a sudden, the manager of the hotel came in to say, Hajia, you need to come outside. Oh. So we went out, and there was the president of Association of Lepers, and he came with a full bus. and And so they said, well, we had the announcement. If we're talking about marginalized people in Kano State, we are the ones that are truly marginalized. We don't have schools, nobody comes to us, doctors cannot attend to us, our children can't go to school. We have children that are normal, but they are not even allowed to go to school. And he kept listing and listing, and he was right. But we have every association of blind, of lepers, crippled, or whatever in the room. And I went back in to tell them that we have some new groups, and they said no. They all said never. Yes, so they were like, everybody was screaming, no, not in this room. You can have a separate meeting with them. So that got me thinking, and I was like, there's even marginalization within marginalization. What are we talking about? So they don't want to mingle with those groups, but those groups had genuine cause. And just to cut the story short, we had to end the meeting. We ended the meeting and we went back to the office and shifted our focus. It was no longer about persons with disabilities, but ramp for persons on wheelchair. We went to the community, the lepers community. It was the most dehumanizing situation I have seen in my life. And I'm not sure the situation has changed. Even when we advocated to government, somebody in the cabinet office was saying to us that even the religious teaching is that you should take them far away from your community. So they have not done anything wrong for pushing them to that lepers colony.
And but provide for them then.
Well, who will go and manage it? That is the issue. Nobody to manage, even if you build schools, who will teach their children? If you build hospitals, who would go and work there? So these are the issues. The issues are very deep. We should set parameters when we're talking about gender and social inclusion, even as NGOs. There's a limit to what we can do. Unless, otherwise somebody challenges us and say, how far are you going with this work? Let us define our parameters as NGOs and know what our limit is, what our organization can carry, and then we'll be able to report properly. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I was discussing with Tolashi that we actually had this in a group. So maybe we can use this thematic area to also work in our various organizations. Maybe more results can come out.
Individual.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
You guys work in a group, and maybe you just cited one example of an organization. But if you work individually with the same thematic areas, we might get more result of what individual organization has done or what you are doing, in line with what she said now. Am I making sense? Thank you. Tulashi. So you need to respond.
Yeah, group members.
Sorry, please. I think I left one thing. This is clarification. I hope I'm right. You talked about the Ministry of Education. One of the slides. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm right and you're wrong. You talk about the Ministry of Education bringing some issues to you.
No, education.
Bringing issues to you.
Yes, we will elaborate.
We'd like you to elaborate because we would think you should bring the issues for them. They are the policy,
We'll just watch.
they are the decision makers.
I think it's very important that we have that context of them bringing issue to you. How did it happen?
Okay.
What led
Yeah, I can speak to that.
So please clarify that.
Yeah. Actually, when we listed stakeholders for advocacy, we didn't list Ministry of Education because we just felt we really had nothing to do with them on the project. For Women Affairs, for Ministry of Justice and others, fine. So in one of our dialogues, we brought in somebody from Super. She was there with us because we had a case of a girl that was abused by the father. And on this particular day, she refused going back home after close of school. And the counselor contacted us that there was a case of continuous abuse. So doing that, you definitely need to bring in the Ministry of Education. So that was how we got connected with the Ministry of Education, and we invited them and the super to our dialogue meetings. So after the meeting, they took interest in what we're doing and actually appealed if we could take some of the sensitization to the school, even though we didn't list sensitization for school. So we did 8 sensitization. And as we speak, we have 22 defilement, abuse, rape, abuse. Children that we have evacuated, working in partnership with the Ministry of Education and SPED to various orphanages in Benin because there's no shelter in Benin City. So, and in process of also doing this, we also had a second dialogue, because our dialogue meetings are quarterly, because we need to look at where we're coming from, where we are, and the way forward with all the stakeholders. And the Ministry of Justice took interest in some of the cases, because we've always had this problem with the police, who is a stakeholder. We've had problem with the ministry, who is a stakeholder, but they took this personally. Even the Commissioner of Police in Edo State took it personal. For every case that has to do with abuse, sexual, gender-based violence, once it gets to the police, there is no appeal. It's straight to the court. Then for the Ministry of Justice, they've also taken some of the cases pro bono, and we have like 8 in court, including that of the Happiness, a girl of 14, that was abused right from when she was 7. And by the time she got 14, she realized that it was a sin because she embraced Christ. And the court heard last week, I had to go in search of her mother in Delta State, and luckily we were able to bring her in. So I think I've spoken to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think there's a question in how the ministry brings.
Okay, then the one for involving the community engagement, okay, even in project design, he has something to say about that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. In this particular project, we did what was to us initially to be extraordinary, because we realized that many times when you involve community members in project development, proposal writing, and proposal does not come up, at the end of the day, there's no way you can explain to them that they did not get the funds for such projects. So this particular, what we did was that we had informal conversations with some youth leaders across Edo, Edo's Central, where we now try to find out from them reasons behind their inability to effectively participate in governance processes at party levels and also at their own community levels. And they were able to get some reasons, basis for us to go ahead to write the proposal. And along the line, we got it, and this time we decided to now also involve them in all our training sessions. Thank you. No, no, clap now. I no talk.
Okay, just for clarification, you talk about regular feedback with the community or with the citizens you've been engaging, and I'd like to know how are you doing this regular feedback? That was my query.
Let me give you one. It's what I just sent yesterday. I want to read it out. I think I should come closer. You see, it's a very, very fresh message. Wait now. Relax. Just yesterday. Okay. See, at to be helpful for me to be the complete leaders reserve. There have been little or no contact with them since the management training, which was done. Before, we would have not involved them in the MNFOC. We also plan with them on the transport and monitoring of the activities. So before, we would have just gone to check what they were doing. For now, we plan
if you won't bring
as
that,
per
you
date, completion. We not do it with them before we start. So these are what we have learned, that you must do it with them, not just come and they see you. This is just yesterday.
So he's talking about, so is it WhatsApp you are using now, or what are you using?
So this is going with physical monitoring, but we want to plan first. Okay, we're just fixing a meeting now.
In that physical meeting, is there something like a template you use?
Of course, if we do together, yes, we're going to do that in this meeting.
Okay, that's what we want.
And we have a WhatsApp group already with them now. It's all the target groups.
So
you want to add?
In addition,
okay,
in education program, we are working with them. So we also developed a template that monthly we use in sending our feedback to SUBEB. It was based on that that they decided to say, okay, for the year 2023, they are going to fund the same educational program in another local government council. So we developed a template for giving SUBEB feedback, and also our WhatsApp group too. We also give them the teachers feedback, the school-based management committee members too on the WhatsApp group too. We also give them feedback, and they will take such feedback as a way of helping us to improve on our reporting formats.
So the strong point is, were you doing this before EU Act intervention, or you started doing it after EU Act intervention?
We didn't take it serious. We were doing it, but it was not as critical the way we do it now.
That's the point Afsad is trying to emphasize, that how critical are you taking it now? The improvement that is happening as a result of Act intervention, that is what you can report to Act.
It's not more, we now take it as a core responsibility for a program officer to make sure that every month we send a report. And even you too now, normally send you feedback every Friday, Abby. Every Friday, we send you feedback and you reply us also.
Okay, this I want to also add to read.
Okay, let me add to the conversation of citizen feedback when it comes to the act projects we are implementing. In the area of citizen participation in governance, we actually trained some group of citizens on governance, and this committee that was inaugurated, it is a committee of 10 persons in each of the communities we are working, and their capacity has been built. So we expect them to now be dialoguing with government, reaching out to government in terms of their community needs. So while doing that, this committee, for the fact that we are the one that is walking them through this process, they always give us feedback on whatever they are doing. Like when we ask them to go back to their community to also look around to get need assessments where they need government intervention, they actually went, they gave us feedback, and we also directed them to the relevant MDAs that they will also reach out to. And in the part of government tools, we also taught them on how to also give them feedback in the respect of project implementation within their community, just to make sure that projects are being implemented according to specifications. So, and also during that feedback sections from the community, we also noticed that most of they are dealing with government, they are not doing it rightly. So we are always in a position to put them through on what is expected of them to do. And even when they wrote letters that need to go to MDAs, we actually scrutinized the letter and we saw some errors where we also corrected them to make those corrections before sending those letters to the MDAs. So by so doing, communities themselves, they always give us feedback, whereby we too will also interact with them. They give the government feedback, and they also give their NOG, the elders council feedback on whatever they do within the community, because those are the people that actually is backing the council, and they also have their full support in their dealings with government. Thank you.
can off this mic now.
The only part we haven't had is your relationship with the regulators in the states.
Okay. Okay, there's a big story. You want to hear the story? Okay, let me tell you the story. Madam President is here. But let me tell you, I think the mentoring and coaching session really did something about that, because just when we were about rounding up, the state government came up with one, give me the language, draconian policy or law that they want to like regulate what CSOs are doing, that everybody, so you're not registered with them, you must come register with the Ministry of Women Affairs before you can even operate. They gave just 2 weeks or so, at the end of that month, you know, and that if not, I'm sure they were going to, we can say, we'll send you the copy of the, yeah, we show them the office. That's a copy of the,
Go ahead.
yeah. So what we did was that because time was too short, no time for even engagement with them, and they also didn't bother to engage with the CSO because we now know our rights. There is no law by the states and governments that you must register with the Ministry of Women. No law passed like that. So you can't just wake up and say you must do this. We all have the CAC, which is supposed to be the statutory registration for you to operate. So we took them to court. As we speak, championed by Congos. I think every one of our mentors was even helped us to like work together, down to those guys are normally charge government to take them to court. Sarah. Yeah, when we had meetings with them, yes. And we put together the file and in court. So as we speak, that law is not in court. Why we didn't flag it was because it's something that is still, you know, but the take from it is this: we know our rights. We understand how we need to be regulated in registration, but if we must do that, there must be a law. And that says that before you can operate in the states, you must have this registration. And not only that, I said you must, so every year you pay dues, renew, then you must be submitting all your reports to them. No problem about submitting a report, but you know what they do with these reports? They will now attribute it to their own. When all the report is as if government is the one carrying and funding those activities. So we need to be clear. The first thing that we must meet, let's discuss first before how we cannot go about, you know, this collaboration registration. So the matter is in court, and I think that's what's happening in those regarding that aspect of regulation.
Okay, Congos.
In addition to that,
Yeah, I'm sure you did something with NGO on this.
Yes.
So want to hear.
By 7th of June, which is next week, NGO have invited all the ministries involved to registration, which we call multiple registration. So we're meeting in Abuja, and these all things will be stretched out.
Thank you very much. So it's important for you to share things like this for us in a time of the shrinking space for civil society. And if there's anything that the program is doing, like Absalom said, contributing to addressing this challenge, these are feedback, it's a useful feedback that we'll be happy to hear from you. So thank you very much. So
the live, please, this program is live, and I've shared the link on our WhatsApp. You can copy it and start tweeting about it.
So lastly, for just five minutes, we throw this open. Chizo, could we have those 5 thematic areas again? So what we just want to do, don't repeat what's been said, but in terms of if you are struggling, if you are still struggling as an NGO with any of these 5 thematic areas, could you just go straight to the point? If you're still having some major challenges, not repeating what's been said. I mean, I know you've talked about the changes that have happened. You've dwelt on that more. But now in terms of, okay, if you look back as an individual or as or collectively, and say, okay, we're still struggling in this area. This is still a major challenge as far as these issues are concerned with your work in Edo States. So is it government engagement? You talk about the regulatory environment. It's good that you brought up that issues, try to stiffen more or less to say, yeah. If it's still media, are there still high level challenges or issues that you think we should bring up and quickly discuss? 5 minutes. So this is Benin Arena, it's not limited to what's it called, to groups or not. So is there anybody in business?
Mine is just like a question I want to just ask everyone, because I know we kept talking about media, how we engage with media and enhancing our visibility. And I just wanted to check, when you go to the media or when you speak with the media, is there any point that you talk about this program or this project, the ACT project, working with the British Council and the EU project? It's just a question that I'm throwing out.
Well, I think that's a very good question. Like we said, while we appreciate the fact that the EU Act has come to open our eyes to a lot of things, especially in the area of the media engagement, we are mainstreaming them. We are using them now even for other projects. But for the activity that we are doing, we also plan for media engagement. Because we have started using them, it means therefore that as we get to the activity for British Council, we are still going to engage them. That's the certainty. Because hopefully in the next 2 months or so, we'll be doing an activity that will require their presence. And so just like we have been using them in some others, we also carry them along. And the good thing is that you brought us together. I think one of the organizations you brought together with us, we have been using them perfectly well. And another one, Auntie Anita, has been troubling me here now. So I am going to bring her along in the next one we are planning for like 2 weeks' time, so that we are sure that at least this activity and engagement continues, we'll begin to strengthen it further. And it has made things very easy, actually. So that we are using it for British Council activity is a certainty. But not only for that, even for every other thing that we are doing, we are using the capacity as well to put them along. Sure, for that we acknowledge them, that's certain.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I would like to hear from one other person. Somebody was raising his hand. It's just for me to be sure that what we're doing is the right thing.
In our project, we're expected to have a radio program. What we're currently doing now in Manana Town at times, and also Speed FM, we have a session, Youth Speak, whereby we talk about from the activity about leadership, youth participation in governance procedures, avoid crime and what have you. So in such program, we also mention the benefits of engaging ACT in our project. It's part of it.
Okay.
We are currently doing that.
Thank you very much.
That's, yeah, okay. Okay, I'll come back to you.
So, for SIG, we are currently running a radio program which we do every Friday concerning this EU Act program to sensitize people against irregular migration and trafficking in persons. Every Friday we go with returned migrants to share their story. It's not just about talking, about the right way, the wrong way. We want people to also hear, from the horse's mouth. And we've had people call in to say, oh, okay, there's one person that called to say, oh, I didn't know that there's a wrong way in irregular migration. She felt, according to what she said, that people tell her, those people that help in the irregular migration, and that person, not work for that person because you not follow who no road. Some of them feel like there's a right path. It's just, oh, I'm not following the right person to take me. And it's with the radio program, it's helping their, their mindset.
Interesting examples.
For GWSD, we've always had a media. We have live radio programs in Pidgin language. We have jingles running continuously. Then we also have workshops. We have dialogues. We've been relating with all the media houses. But what we started this week, because we had one on Monday, where we did a program on mitigating gender-based violence among the women leaders. We actually thought of building content because for all others we've been paying. But for sustainability plan, we need to build content. So we did advocacies, so which means we have more advocacies. The project paid 10 advocacies, but currently we have 16 advocacies. We did advocacies to the different media houses because we need to invite them for our programs so that we can also build content. Like the NAN, the program we did on Monday was live, was online all over the place, but it was not paid for. We also did for Civil Debt, we also did for EBS. We are having one on Tuesday, and I just asked Anita if they could advocate to her office on Monday, and she said yes for 10 a.m. So by Tuesday, we're going to be having like 6 media in our programs. They are invited to the dialogue, and they are going to be giving us content. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, which organization has advocated to CNN, to BBC, to the Al Jazeera, in view? Okay, we look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Chair. And for all those that have responded and even want to respond and maybe have the opportunity, I think what we are trying to establish here, and I know that you are doing that very well, act from the kind of program that we're running, we are actually looking for visibility. So imagine if all the people that responded today kept talking about, oh, this project is actually funded by ACT, by British Council, by EU. You know what that means to us in terms of rating? And so that's exactly, I know some of these projects are being funded by ACT directly, but any opportunity that you have, leverage on that to mention the name of the program. I think that's what we're trying to establish. And I'm happy that we're doing everything like that. And to you, the first speaker who said, we're actually using the media. I'm from the media too. I don't want you to say that you're using the media. Rather, you are working with the media. Okay. So thank you so much for the response. Thanks.
And I'd like to add to what Lorenzo said. We'll be happy to hear, I think someone said, talk about jingles. Maybe I've forgotten the terminology for that now. But it'd be nice for you to give the credits. This jingle sponsored by Fund or whatever. So we would love to see that happening. Let's give credits to whom credit is due. That is what Lorenzo is trying to say.
Yeah, we do give credit.
Well, I have talk about
Instagram. We don't know the handles because for our page, we actually created Instagram, Twitter, Migration Matters. But when we want to tag EU, we don't see EU ads, we don't see. So we tag British Council Nigeria. So who do we tag? So and that's also correct
the way we pronounce the program. We're really not EU Act, we're ACT. And so there should be no confusion to that. And if you want to tag, please tag EU and tag British Council. And for ACT, we have, so the way the program is designed, we're not supposed to have a separate social media handle. So we have devised a way to have a handle. And the handle that we have is civic action. And I think that is what is on that flip chart. So you can tag them. And you can also tag individual colleagues, hashtag any other person, you can tag me. But really the two most important handles for us is our funders and our implementers, which is the British Council and the EU. And we are not EU Act, we are ACT. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ifron and I work with the Maria Escobar Foundation. Well, in regards to what Mama said concerning the social media frenzy, my take is that on Twitter, I tried going on our Twitter page to look for European Union, that's EU, but if people don't have a state, if people don't have a particular handle, it's more like European Commission that's more of being verified as a page. But I tried searching on the European Union, it was not found. So all I just did was I tagged European Commission, and then I also put hashtag, that is our hashtag, then Civic Union Engine, I also tag them. Then also for the social media, also what I just want to say is that how do I put it? A long line is created by dots. It's dots that create a long line. So as for me, I would suggest, okay, as how I put it, as individuals or as colleagues trying to build up a society, we should do it collectively. If we do it individually, to be stressful, but if we do it collectively as one, we will make impact in due time. So by God's grace, I'm the one handling my foundation social media page, and I've discovered that whenever I try to publicize something, most especially during the arts, there is arts program when we're having one thing in Ekoma, concerning participatory democracy. Yeah, so I was always soliciting for people tagging us, sharing our pages, because of I have this belief that if one person can reach 100 persons, then two persons can reach 200 persons. So my take on is that everyone here, we have social media handles, be it personal or organizational. So I would really suggest, if I would suggest, if it will be possible for we to just share each other's handles, then try to always, like, okay, react to things that are uploaded on our various pages. Maybe, like for example, now I'll upload something based on my foundation, and then my fine Mr. here will just tag us, like our tweet or our and share. That way we can reach across to people in due time. Thank you very much.
Yes, right. Just to underscore what he's trying to say in terms of, I think that's the way social media actually works. So you connect with me, I connect with you, everybody connects with each other, and we like each other, we following activities.
Thank you very much. When the session was ongoing, when we were all giving our contributions, the person doing the videoing mentioned that there's the link to the live program that we're having here. So that's a very good content for people who are maybe today's Saturday now. So there are a few people that are at home that just want to know what's actually going on, and this is a very wholesome coverage of what is going on from our contributions, from our debates and the rest. So again, like I mentioned earlier, it will have been very important as we're having our name cards on the table. Just put our Twitter handles. Twitter is a microblogging site, so it's very easy. And there's something we call a thread. So if peradventure I'm writing, you can even write a full book on Twitter using the thread method. So you're writing something around what this web scholarship is mentioning, and it's going to span over 3 pages. You make it into a thread, so people can read that full discussion on one single tweet. So I think we should just begin to exchange, or maybe probably write our Twitter handles on the name cards we have on our tables or our desks, whether it's personal or even organized. But it's better we use our organization's Twitter handle. But if you are not with your organization's Twitter handle, you can use a personal one. Yeah, you can even use both as well. Or you can use organization's Twitter handle and also retweet using your personal one. I handle for my organization, so once I tweet, I get the alert on my personal. So I go there, I retweet, I like, I share. Yeah, so thank you.
So it's not just for us to why we said cross-state reflection, so we can network. So unfortunately, Edo is not meeting with Sokoto, but that will not stop us networking even amongst ourselves. And imagine 200 persons in the community. That's the start of a big revolution. So we have 200 CSOs already. Imagine we're all following each other. 200 plus ACT team, plus ROLAC, plus British Council, plus what have you. Before you know it, we're building. You understand? And in the advocacies that we do, if we don't have a collective voice supporting each other, we will not go far with it. And that's why we're saying, how much are we using social media, not just to create visibility for NGOs, but at least to bring attention to our work. We know that a lot of social issues are scored on social media. We know it, there's no pretense about it. And the people scoring these points are not necessarily NGOs, just ordinary citizens taking their voice to Twitter, and before you know it, many people supporting them and government reacting to it. So why should we not be using it as a very instrumental way of reaching out with the things that we do? At least using it would correct a lot of perceptions about what civil society organizations are and what they do. So please drop your handles. I would have committed to follow everybody that shares. Drop your handles. I will follow everyone and retweet whatever it is you're sharing.
Okay, I think another way to help that it will be for Mary and Chisholm will be able to help us with this. If we actually have the electronic attendance, and then we have the names, we have the individual Twitter handles or whatever, and then circulate that around. Do you think that could help?
Yes.
Or is that a lot of additional work? Okay, so maybe the idea thing would be just to stand up, meet somebody, ask them for their.
Or what we can do, everybody is in the WhatsApp platform now. So we can all push in our Twitter handle. So it's easier to pick and copy or retrieve from that WhatsApp page. So a quick suggestion. Yes, and you can also push in the WhatsApp group that everybody is. You can also push in your organization's Twitter handle at so and so. So this is for EU in Nigeria. That's handle is EU in Nigeria. That's for the European Union, and that's NG British. That's British Council.
So to summarize this, I think that's a good idea for all members who are already in any particular WhatsApp group. You could, whatever it is, will be posted there, the links. If you are not sure, you could easily ask within that group and find. So I think that's a good idea. So one else, please. So I think that does it for the media engagement and partners. Any other issues you'd like to raise across this? Very quickly, this is 12 already. We're all fine, I suppose. All right, so that's the case. I think we've come to the end of this section. Once again, can we all clap for ourselves? All right, some of us have been sitting there for over an hour, and you know we are all adults. So can we all please stand up? Can we all please stand up? Please stand up. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. Please sit down. Please sit down. Sit down. Please sit down. Sit down. Oh, actually, you should all stand up. Please stand up. Stand up. Well, for 2 minutes, just move around, stretch your legs, talk to somebody, give them a hug, give them a knock. No. Whichever one.
Don't allow the sheep to touch you.
So what house please? One house. This microphone.
One house, please. Please, the hugging and knocking is enough.
The hugging is enough. He didn't say 3, say hug one person. It's okay, 1 is okay. At least 1 person is okay. We are just doing our best to meet up with time. For those of us who are, hello, one house, Peter. Okay. For those of us who are implementing the ACT project already, I'm already confused with the EU ACT state. For those of us implementing the ACT project already in Edo State, please, the compendium yesterday, I think Tolashe took us through the compendium yesterday on how we need to improve on it. If you have done that, we want you to do a presentation this morning. As soon as we finish that session, I think we'll be getting ready to wrap up the whole essence of, or one part of the essence of coming here. Okay, so Uromi JDBC, you told me you were ready. So maybe you are ready to. Huh? You are ready to do your presentation. Okay. Yes, send it to Chisom, please. You have Chisom email address. I've copied you in our email before now, so just look for, don't look for Chichi, look for Chisom. Please just send it to her. Have you updated your own? Send it to Chisom, please. Send it to Chisom. Your thread, look at it, you see Chisom. Some persons have disappeared. What's going on? Governor, where are your people now? You need to ascend your own now.
They go for break.
Once you send, let me know. JDPC.
Accept.
Okay. Almost. We want your opinion.
Flash me the one before the break.
Okay. Okay. One house, please. I'll send it to her. Okay. So let's give the floor to Uromi JDBC. No, can you account for your people there? Lache, he's going to do, he has reworked his, so he's going to run through it, and let's look at that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Presentation from Uromi Justice Development Peace and Characters Initiative, Uromi JDPCI, established on the 13th of April. Sorry, that's 2006, please. That's 2006. 2006. And then the address is actually at the Catholic Chancery Complex at Bellevue, Edo State. And our primary area is around education, health, governance, human rights, city, OBC, among others. And then the contact person is Very Reverend Father Dr. Fidelis Arezo. His phone number and email address is as displayed. And the total grants approved for this project is 12,806,069 naira. And then we have the grant periods will run from December 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022. And the total grants we have received is 7,397,820,000. And then the total grant we have spent is 7,193,388 naira 88 kobo. And the purpose or the primary objective of the grant is to improve community participation in governance for accountability, transparency, and effective service delivery. And the major interventions that we have carried out include advocacy to relevant stakeholders, 25 community, advocacy BC to local government chairmen, identification and orientation meeting with civic groups, and then we have also been involved in the training of civic group members on local government budget tracking and local government partnership. And we have been involved in media engagement and rotation workshop for civic group members. And then we have also had some quarterly learning sessions, learning and experience sessions with the civic group members in the 5 local government areas. And monitoring has been conducted, and the second phase currently also ongoing. And the major attributes and changes following the implementation of the grants, we have also the following. We have seen willingness of community members to participate in training to improve their knowledge on citizen engagement. We have seen a high level of acceptance of the project by traditional rulers in some communities. You have seen community leaders giving commitment to say, I want my chief to be part of your group, and they nominate key and influential persons in the community to be part of the civic group so that they can have first-hand information and be able to also follow up with what they are doing. And then we have also have increased awareness of the importance of local government budget to community development, so that 10 communities currently are engaging the local government to get a copy of the budget. They want to get a copy of the budget from the local government, and then the local government have acknowledged the receipts of some of the requests and expressed willingness to make them available as soon as the chairman has authorized the release. And then we have improved capacity of community members to engage government institutions and representatives, and this is evident in the number of communities that are also already engaging the local government to consider their input for the 2023 budget, which they are going to be making very soon. And then we also have seen that 250 community members participated in our training, so they have been trained on the budget tracking and open government partnership, so they know what to look out for in the budget when they eventually pick it, and they also know how to use those things they have analyzed or brought out from the budget to engage local government and possibly track the implementation of these things in their own very communities. And then some of the sources we have seen two LGAs, Eastern, West, and Igwebe particularly, have already mobilized themselves to pay courtesy call to the LGA. As of yesterday, another local government joined Eastern Central. Those ones have actually done their own, and they went beyond just the local government chairman to the senator representing their local government as well. And so, and they are trying to inform him of their desire to be part of the budget formulation process for the 2023. And some have started the needs assessment in their community. They have mobilized their community and meeting with their stakeholders and others to find out what exactly do we need to ask for. What do we want local government to do in our place, because they all have diverse needs, but they need to be able to prioritize which needs to present for consideration in the budget. And one of the traditional ruler has also offered to make his palace available for subsequent quarterly meeting, and that's basically the traditional ruler in the Ugiaja community. And then Egora the community was also able to engage the principal of their community secondary school, who charged excess of the regular enrollment fee. She was charging each student 50,000, while the parents were looking for a way to borrow money. The issue got to some civic group members who were already mobilized and trained, and then they decided to engage the principal on the need to find out why exactly it was 50,000 when the enrollment was not more than 22,000 naira in some other schools. So the principal didn't want to listen to them because he felt they were village people, and because they have been taught how to also engage, how to accept their stakeholder, as we are doing some of the engagement training with them in their sections. They went further to engage the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Education got to know, and immediately they sent some person down to investigate the situation. With the first information they got, the principals will speak next under suspension, and they are currently investigating the issue pending the outcome. So principal is under suspension is the one in the junior section that is running both senior and junior section at the moment. So even as a community, as a village community, they are able to take such step, and to them it looks like a very big dream that they have already achieved. And then in Opoji, the community stakeholders have also appreciated the fact that they were able to also engage even their own representative, those who represent them in Benin as SAs, to be able to influence some teachers to their school, because just now they didn't have any teacher apart from the principal according to them, and then the community were trying to see how they could get to pay some community teachers to be teaching in the school. And then they got to, as they begin to get some knowledge from this intervention, they also try to use the knowledge to engage some person in their community. Some teachers have already been posted to their schools currently now. And then our community also demonstrated some capacity to engage representatives. And just recently there was a road being constructed in their community leading to the local government. And it appeared most likely that they were building almost a gutter at the center of the road, which was supposed to be a major road. And for this, they have gone to engage the senator, thinking that he was the one who was doing it. And he told them, yes, he actually was the one that ought to do that business project. But because of the crisis on the road that had been awarded before now by NDDC, he pulled out. And so he's currently under the supervision of the state government. So he gave them a guide on how to also go about it. And so they called to say they appreciated it, but that what they will do, they have taken further action to see that they stop the project pending when the contractor will come and give them what has been agreed on and what they intend to do on the road as well. So those are some of the outcomes that we have here. The innovations, we look at the emergence of civic groups in 25 communities, and then we look at the discovery of the tracker mobile app by budget, which we have also familiarized with the civic group members. And the budget has actually also communicated to us that the tracker mobile app was suspended because of certain features in the app that the Play Store did not accept, but that by the middle of this month, before the end of the month rather, the tracker mobile app will be back to the Play Store. So the people are enthusiastic and waiting to have access to it. However, they also gave us access to other platforms like the govspend.ng, govspend.gov, yes, and some other platform that they can also follow to monitor consistency allowances and releases that have been made to their area. So the people are willing and want to follow up and see how to engage their representative at various levels so that they'll be able to at least understand what is planned for them, what is being implemented, and how it is being implemented. And then we also have the payment of transport allowance through bank rather than by hand, which has assessed some community persons to also open accounts. Those who didn't have an account have decided to go and open accounts because we told them, as it stands now, the new rule and policy is that we must pay you by bank and not by hand. So they have opened account to us. It's an innovation. It's something that we have also added, value that we have added to them. So there's no need saying, my pikin want to send me money, help me receive it and give me. They can receive it directly now. Some of them have done that already. So I think to us, we have to also capture that as an innovation in this project. And then we'll look at memorable quotes. One of our member from ECOMA actually said that the Good Government Project has assisted us to have a say with regards to well-being of children and community in general. And that before now, it was difficult for them to explain or approach those they want to approach. But every day the project strengthens their capacity to be able to engage people the better. And so that's what we have there. He's actually a youth leader and paralegal in ECOMA, the Southwest Local Government area. And the other one is a community spokesperson from Opoji. He said, with this project, we have been able to influence teachers to our school. We used to think that it was purely government business, but now we know that governance is everybody's business. So there are the challenges have been encountered because of the, we have talked about increase in the inflation rate leading to high cost of transportation and other logistics. When we wrote this proposal, we didn't even say that the fuel was going to be an issue. You know, in Nigeria, when fuel goes up, transport goes up, it doesn't come back. So, but however, we are putting that under control as well, trying to manage as much as possible. But it affected a lot of the logistic plans so that the allowance was almost exhausted. There are no availability of banking services in most of this community. You know, we are in Edo Central, and the Edo Stretcher, you can actually talk about bank basically in the Western West and Western Northeast. The only other area where you can have a bank would be in Gwebe, where you have Union Bank. And most of these persons we are engaging are in the interior. So it means that they need to come to town to access that bank. So the absence of banking service is a problem. And for those who operate POS in those villages, sometimes because of fear of armed robbers, attack and others, you know the security story in the state, especially our side. It's difficult now for you to say you want to travel from Ubiaja, not even Benin yet, Ubiaja to Onitsha or those areas without taking the very long routes. So some of those issues affect those who operate POS. They can't come to town to get money. Otherwise, they might just be attacked or they might just be kidnapped. And so it's difficult for them. So for that, what they do is when they come to town, they now take the small money they will have to take and then go back home. So that's how that becomes a challenge in that area. And then what are the key lessons here? At the moment, we just have to quickly put up two things in mind: that the importance of awareness capacity building in the life of the people can increase their desire to participate in governance. Because if capacity is not there, they will not be interested, but we have observed that that is possible. And that the people are also willing to participate in government if they know how to be a part of the process. So these are the key lessons that we have taken away from here. And then future plans or ideas for sustaining. One, we intend to sustain the level of coaching and mentorship to the civic group for a period of time, because we know that the period of the project is short, and we don't want to believe that with that period we can actually have something that is so sustainable for them. So we intend to extend the period of coaching and mentorship to them. We have our plans either to possibly write other proposals that can expand it, or find a way to mainstream them into something else that we are doing to keep them active and true to their word. Otherwise, we will leave them now and come back later. The zeal may not be there, the commitment may have also diminished. And then we also intend to train the civic group on advocacy, leadership, and civic engagement. It is very important for us to do this so that they can be able to sustain the tempo and strength and have the required knowledge to engage those that they are engaging to get the desired result. Because what we can see now is that community engagement like this have gone beyond we not go agree or we not go agree. it has to be something that has to do with you being able to advocate for and lobby to get what you want done for your people. And then we're also talking about sustaining a platform for learning and experience sharing at the Nigerian level, because we have observed that learning platform helps a lot to make those who are not working wake up. You see, for instance, somebody is standing up from one committee to tell you what we have done. We have seen this, we have seen this, we have seen this, we have done this, we have done this, we have met like this, we have decided like this. And then you are sitting there just shaking yourself, Another day you also want to do something and come back and say, okay, I have done, I have done, I have done that. So they are learning from each other, and this is helping a lot. So that's why I would think it's also something that we want to sustain now and even beyond the life of the project. So as you have here, these are some of the project activities that we have done. This was an advocacy visit to the Onoje of Uzea. Uzea is a community that people hardly go to because of the bad road and coupled with the insecurity of the road. And so when we wanted to visit this community, there was the need for them to have a representative of the 9 clans that made up the community to be present, so that for once they can have clear information on what we're going to give to them and what we are delivering to them. And then this was a picture of our quarterly meeting that we had in the quarterly learning section, that we had in some of the community. One, this was a training on the local government budget tracking and local government partnership. Any other thoughts or recommendations? Scale up of the Act funding opportunity and link it to other funding opportunity. I think Mr. Niti has been doing that very well. He has actually, he gave us an opportunity in the scale project, and luckily we are part of that. He made it known on the platform. He encouraged us to apply, we picked it, and by the grace of God, we got it, working with 6 other organizations from this very platform. So, and then we will also be happy if more opportunities are released that way. I think he released one from Osiwas recently. We have also worked on that. We hope it's useful for us too. So thank you very much. We will need more of that, and then we'll keep trying our hands on them to see how we'll strengthen ourselves and get it done. On my part, I will say a big thank you to ACT and the British Council, because your coming has made a lot of difference in our life, in our approach, in the way we do things. I can tell you that last year we applied for, from the time we joined this project from March last year, we applied for 5 grants, and we got 4 of the grants. So it was a beautiful thing for us. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
No, I was saying that's 90% of the application.
That's yeah. Generally, I mean, I had no idea what your project is all about. But reading this, I could get what it's about, what you're doing, what you're achieving. So for me, I think it's a very good way. And if I could start let's go from the picture. Let's go. Yeah, I was struggling to say, okay, which I mean, when we have a difficult challenge, selecting one picture out of this, because they all speak to it and they're all very good. You could put it in context. You see the gathering of it. So these are very lovely pictures. Thank you for that. So that's good. I think the major issue, so that we could have other opportunities for other people to talk, is drawing the line between your successes and your success factor. I think lots of what you call as success factors should actually be your outcomes. Yeah. So your success factor is what has contributed to the successes. But what I get here a lot of, and if I could summarize some of the attributable changes or successes you mentioned here. For me, I think one thing you've been able to do is to create awareness. That stands out very well. And not only that, I could see some attitudinal change among the communities you're working with. And some have also taken, that's the third stage, they've taken action. So based on their awareness, the information they know now, their attitude or intention to do things, they have actually taken decisions. like the traditional leader going to the school and things like that, changing from principal. So those are, so for me, even those three, if you summarize them in those 3 points, and you weave everything around. So it takes a story of how you created awareness, and then the, changing the attitude, the types of, oh, now we know this is it. And then lastly, taking action, and then you cite those examples. Perfect. So it's just rephrasing and putting things together. That's very fine. Your challenges are largely administrative. They are largely administrative. If we could go to those challenges, we would love to hear of technical challenges in terms of programmatic challenges that you encountered. Yeah, there are no POS to pay people. Yeah, that's challenging. If you look at the objective, what are the challenges you face in achieving that objective? And then you realize that what you've said, the challenges are, so they are largely administrative. They're not really directly to the objective of the program. They have challenges quite all right, but we'd like you to also as far as implementing this objective is concerned, what are the challenges you face? It could be, the good example could be maybe the traditional leaders maybe they were expecting some more significant for us. There are some communities like that it's not just about your budget, but what do I get?
Oh, they didn't get that.
They didn't get that, so I'm just trying to use an example. So if there's not like that, that's fine. But for me, I think I could easily have a feel of what you've done without just on these two, 3 pages. Have a feel of what you've done and the things you've achieved. But basically, the success factor could be just 1 or 2. I was going to rephrase one, but then when you explained it, and I realized that is not what you intended here. You said one of the traditional rulers has offered to make his palace available for subsequent quarterly meetings. Maybe he had done that at the start of the project, and then because of that, people were able to gather and use that, and they were able to, because it's the palace, he's able to convince everybody that this is where we should go. Then that could have led to that success factor, to those successes you mentioned. But I now realized that was a different thing. It's actually part of the commitment of the traditional leader to actually lead that process. Now, but it could also be rephrased as a success factor. But other than that, I think you've done very well. Please, let's clap for the presentation.
So, next gen. So you can take it back.
All right. Thank you.
KIF.
Yes, please take a bow.
KIF, please. KIF.
So I think we've got less than just about 30 minutes. So if you could do it in 5 minutes, so that we could make comments in 2 minutes.
No, sorry, she's projecting KIF first. Sorry, sir.
Okay, madam, so if you change
Next
it
gen
to,
is up.
I saw KIMS now.
Oh, leave it now, leave it.
No,
Let's
don't worry, let me take it first. Let me go first. Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. While I go through the compendium, this is Koyunum Imala Foundation, established the year 2000. Our main address is at number 53 Area Street, off Sakumba Road, Benin City, Edo State. The primary sector we actually carried out our intervention was on good governance. And our main contact person is faith leadership. Contacts are there. The total grant that was approved by the British Council is 3.4,193 within 6 months, and we've been able to exhaust 995 naira. So, okay, sorry, that is total grant received, sorry, for the first tranche, and the total grant spent was 2,166,839. And the purpose or primary objective of this grant is increasing citizen participation in governance in Oga Southwest local government area of Edo State. Our major intervention implemented through the grant is we actually conducted analysis
assessment through analysis of governance, development, and conflict issues in the 3 communities we are working on, which are Igbobazuwa, Udu, and Ofunegu communities. We also carried out advocacy visit to the community gatekeepers and the LGA Executive Council, Ministry of Budget, the Commission of Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning with the beneficiaries. Town hall meeting conducted at the 3 communities. Community Governance Council established in the 3 communities. We also trained the Community Governance Council we actually established. Okay. Then community awareness campaign was also conducted in one of the communities so far, and we also had community governance council meetings supervised by the M&E. We also deployment of FOI acts by the Community Governance Council established. So major attributes, major attributes in this project are community gatekeepers in full support of the program as first of its kind. During town hall meetings, other members of the elder councils also welcomed the idea of their citizens participating in governance, bridging the gap between government and their community. The establishment of a Community Governance Council now creates a direct interface with government. Capacity of the Community Governance Council built to enable them function effectively when dealing with government MDAs and budget tracking. The community awareness campaign changed the way citizens now see government as people they can dialogue with to scale up development in their community. To scale up development in their community. Then the Community Governance Council meeting has helped in identifying issues in the community and working towards providing solutions. Then the successes, any success factors. We are looking at the Community Governance Council that was established, gives feedback to the Council of Elders in the community on their progress. The Community Governance Council trained is now full functional with the Ojongwe of Igbobazuwa, giving them an office space for their meetings. The Community Governance Council have started engaging government agencies for information through the use of FOI Act. Any innovations? The innovations we actually looked into was the establishment of the Community Governance Council, which is first of its kind in the community. Yes, they've been hearing about citizens participating in governance, but they've not actually had citizens from the communities being trained to participate directly, dialogue directly with government. The Community Governance Council have created their letter-headed paper that will be used to write their letter. That will use to write their letter, then using the community letter that will be used to write that down. Using the community letter-headed in support of the Elders Council. Why we actually told them to create a letter-headed paper, we noticed that if they have to start writing their letters with the community letter-headed paper, that means they will have to need the secretary of the community to always sign on it. So now, since they will want them to operate on their own, giving the Council of Elders feedback, so they decided to create their own letter-headed in support of the head of the community who are fully behind them. So memorable statements, like in when we actually paid a courtesy visit to the local government council, we were received by the director of admin and general service. So he actually said during the advocacy visit, the local government council, during the advocacy visit to the local government council, while addressing the CGC representative, the director of admin said, if they want any project implemented in their community and they know anybody within the community that is close to the governor, regardless of the political party it belongs, they should not hesitate to go to him to enable them get what they need. Then the ESL of Udo, who happens to be the head of the community, also said the innovative. He said the innovative is different from what they have. The initiative is different from what they have been saying. That this is the first of its kind. So a lady too, this Carol Omoruyu, also said that it will be good for the three community. He said it will be good if the three communities should always meet once in a month or 2 months to share ideas together and plan on how the communities can move forward together. Then the challenges faced. Before we could get the community governance council established, it took longer than expected because they will be participating with KIF team in almost all the process in the program. Why it was so? Because most of these communities, they have their own program. We were thinking that maybe when we get there, after the courtesy visit, then we can now set up the community governance team. But it wasn't as easy as we were thinking. We now noticed that we need to create awareness, because the community head said it's not just coming to them alone. We need to let those that are important in the community. We should tell the community what we really want to do, so that those that are interested can be part of the program. So that was why it actually took us time to get them established. During the implementation of projects in Igbo community, they lose the authority of the community, but however, the Community Governance Council has already been established and started functioning. Not quite long ago, they lost the head of that particular community, so of which they need to mourn the head of that particular community. So by so doing, some activities actually paused in that community. But however, the Community Governance Council has already been established in that community. Then the next one is reaching out to more members of the community was an issue because of their busy schedule. Why it was so? Because most of these community people, if you don't work with their time, you will go there and find out you won't meet anybody. We actually had such experience, so we now ask questions, when are these people are expected to be available? We notice some of them go to farms, some of them go to their business places, and some of them even come to Benin, but they reside in the community. So after we have dialogued with them, getting a reasonable time to reach out to more community members. So that was when we started our major interventions. Then key lessons or knowledge from the implementation of the grant. By training and working the community, by training and working the Community Governance Council through the process, make them feel ownership and are willing to serve their community voluntarily as part of their civic responsibility. The Council of Elders in the community now serve as check to the Governance Council, whereby they will be giving them feedback in all their dealings with government with their full support. Citizen participation in governance is key in bridging the gap between government and the community. The future plans. KIF will continue to engage the Community Governance Council, making sure they are engaging government, demanding information, reaching out to different governments, NDAs, to address issues of development in their community, and taking their priority need to government to be captured in the state yearly budget. Here we make sure they engage in budget tracking and monitoring of government projects to make sure they are being implemented according to specification and give feedback to government where necessary. Publication and explanation of the project findings will create more awareness on citizen participation in governance, getting more communities key into the program. The Community Governance Council will be collaborating with the Edo State Security Network to provide security and protect government properties in their communities. Then these are pictures of some of the activities we did. This was when we actually paid the courtesy visit to the ESL of Udo, then the Odionwere of Igbo, then this is also the Odionwere of Megbe. So these are part of the exercise. Then this one is the Commissioner of Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Edo State, who paid her courtesy visit with some of the governance group that was established. This please. So this was also when we paid the local government.
Let's go through the pictures.
Okay, let's go through this. Okay, this was when we also paid the courtesy visit to the local government with some of the groups. This was during awareness. This was during town hall meetings. We had town hall meetings with the communities, and take it up. Hello. Oh, okay. So. Okay, at the end, okay, let me just go straight to the. So, recommendations anyway. Here believes if more communities are involved in the program, there will be more robust engagement with government, holding them accountable. Here also believe that the CDC, which is the Community Governance Council, can function more effectively like the CBOs if undergo more training that will strengthen their structures, whereby be able to engage other private sectors within their community, comparing them to observe corporate social responsibility according to the law, which will also reduce poverty and scale up development. Here, I strongly recommend us to further build the capacity of the Community Governance Council established for more effective engagement with government and be seen.
Can we please stand for them? Yes, we need to be mindful of time so that others have the time. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for presenting. Period of grants, like I said yesterday, we want it not just 6 months or 3 months. We want the period, month and year. Okay, so it's from January 2020 to December 2022. We want that stated, not just 3 months or 4 months, 6 months. So we need to have that period that you had that. So please, for others, you might need to be mindful of that. I love your challenges. I love the way you put your challenges. Not only stating the challenges which are related to the objective of the program, you also show how it was sort of addressed or mitigated. So that's the ideal way to actually state challenges. In the course of this project, we had these challenges, but this is, you talk about something that was set in place, one governance council. Yeah. So that's a very, it also leads to your lesson in terms of if you actually put this in place, even if the traditional leader should pass away, action activities will still continue. So that's a very good one. It's a very good example. I love the town hall photos. For that, I think they speak volume in terms of we actually went there to the communities. There are some concerns here about some of the activities, and maybe Lorato might want to speak to that. There are some concerns where you are making a presentation about some of your activities not carrying the banner. We understand there are some budget for designing banners just to show, okay, this is the arts project. There are some concerns. I have a reservation about that. So maybe Lorato might even want to shed more light on that.
Yeah, I think I shared the same thing across the presentation so far, but from the last presentation before him, when we zoomed very close to his pictures, we were able to see banners, and he can attest to that. We're able to see some of the banners at the background. But for him, I think I saw face cards that has British Council in, of course. But the truth is, I think what Chalachi and other colleagues are saying is that there's a specific budget for banner. So why not? Why are we not having banners?
If you zoom in, you will see it.
Okay, so
There is.
I think it's very important.
Yeah,
I think positioning is also very important. After saying that, the way you position the logo. In fact, the last presenter, it was when he zoomed in that we saw the banners, and they were there. You understand? I wanted to challenge him immediately. Why are you giving us pictures without banners? And when he zoomed in, we saw everything. So please, it's very important that we position our banners very well, so that the pictures that are taken have the banner very
open. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Let's clap for them one more time. I think we can please the next presenter. You don't need to explain in detail. Just take us through. I think you could do it in 3 minutes. I believe so.
Oh, yes.
And then we
I trust him.
And then we can do a review for 2 minutes.
Let me apologize. I just had a distressing call before this, so my voice is still trying to settle down.
Sorry.
That's the name of the organization. It's a long sentence, so we prefer to be referred to as Next Gen. We established 2011. Eben Lane off Atakava Road, Benin City is our main address, and we face issues of health, youth, and community development. That's the main contact person there, the address and phone number, email. That's our grant, the size. And then between December 1 and September 15, we've got 7.5, we've spent 6.4. Our primary objective is to increase access to facility-based maternal and child health care in Orion local government area of Edo State. Major interventions are these: enhancing the capacity of health workers through training on modern approaches of maternal and child health. We also did advocacy to government and that's executive and then the legislature. For me, that's very, very important. And there were other groups we advocated to, and that's to enhance the status of maternal and child health in the state. There is a very important aspect of the project, which is engagement with TBS for synergy and collaboration with health workers. We really want TBS to collaborate with health workers in making more referrals. That's TBS making more referrals to primary health center for basic tests and during complications and risks. There are pregnancies that are very, very risky, so they've been trained on that. We engage with them and the consultant did a good job. We are also engaging with couples in communities. We've just had 2 of such engagements. 3 are left. Engagement with couples in communities for uptake in facility-based services and engendering behavioral changes that enhance maternal and child health. Major attributable changes following the implementation. There has been uptake in demand for facility-based services. Also, the PHC workers, that's the matrons and the nurses, they are applying modern approaches to maternal and child health care, which has improved the issues of maternal and child health in the local area. C, there is increased knowledge amongst health workers, excuse that. And then TBAs and also couples. When you engage with couples, some of them go to TBAs, and when we engage them in that community engagement, their eyes open. You take your wife to an 80-year-old woman. How do you think she will be able to do all that and all of that? Okay, as Mr. Newton is saying. Any success factors for attributable change? Yes, the involvement of community-based project monitoring committee members led to massive turnout to our community-based activities. In fact, we're having issues of how to pay them. You want 20 couples, and at the end of the day, you're having 60 or 70. Massive turnout. We didn't want to turn people back because we're disseminating information and knowledge. So, but my accountant is handling that. Then there is also the involvement of the Edo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the PAC coordinator that made the mobilization for the training highly successful. Any innovations emanating from the implementation? Yeah. The practical sections, in the training we had a consultant, then we brought a mature nursing mother who did a practical section breaking down what the doctor has studied. Consultants have high sounding words. So we brought an assistant director who practicalized what the doctor was teaching. Then we also use, as I said earlier, primary project monitoring committee for mobilization for all the community-based activities. And then we are creating a WhatsApp group for continued interaction, sharing of ideas, and mentoring by the consultant. The consultant is there, so he's also answering their questions and helping them. That's a memorable statement, yeah. We have Martina Opon, who is officer in charge, we call them OICs of PHC at Camp 34. Thank you, Next Gen, for your wonderful training of health workers. Thank you, British Council, and now ACT, no longer EU, for your sponsorship. May God bless you all. The training was indeed a reminder of the health services we render to reduce maternal mortality, the new strategies to better reduce to the barest minimum, and the drug of choice and how to apply each of them. The practical aspect was very interesting. The lunch was as if we were eating in our homes. So satisfying. And the transportation was reasonable. Once again, thank you so much. Hoping to get more enlightenment or enlightened training from you. Thank you. Next. Challenges or issues encountered. Lack of ownership of bank accounts by the beneficiaries, as the local government area does not have any banking institution. I think that is the only local government in Edo State that does not have one single banking institution.
No, so
Orion, yes.
So many. He said
Orion. Any other one?
On West.
Okay, on one. Okay, the second one. Okay, next. Another challenge is the regular engagement of health workers in routine immunization and other ministry activities. This delayed the training. It was a very big issue for us. We will come up with a date, they will tell us how we engage. Very, very difficult for us. But we thank God we were able to go through that. Where am I? 17. Key lessons of knowledge from the play. For widespread mobilization for activities, we need to involve the project monitoring committee members, and then practicalizing lessons drives down the lessons and make it easily understandable and applicable. Are there future plans? Yes. We just want to seek funds to train other health. I think that should be done in all the local government area, and we are trying to see if we can get more funding for that. Pictures, please. That's the matron that was handling the practical section. Just go that sheet there. This is a community engagement. The top one. That's the community engagement. That's the matron by the side there. Next one. This is engagements with TBAs. That's the consultant there. I was making a comment or so. Next. That's the training of health workers. World Health Organization was in attendance. Next. Send there. Any recommendations? If possible, the EU, that's the Act, should sustain this project for more years to scale up and sustain the gains. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Very clear presentation. Your major interventions, the way you've written them, are we together?
Yes.
Your major interventions, the way you've written them, very, very good. They just four points, but it's that logical flow. You can read through, you can understand what this is about. So for major interventions, it doesn't need to be plenty. If they are just well summarized, you get repeats from that. So thank you very much. Your outcomes or the attributable changes, I wish you would find a way of can we go to the attributable changes? I wish you could find a way of qualifying them or quantifying them. When you have uptick in uptake, it's broad, it's just there. It could be 1% uptake, it could be 10%. So I wish you could, I read through the 4, increase in knowledge, which is a bit tricky to measure, but I think you could qualify or quantify some of these changes. They are nice changes, very nice. That is what they're speaking to your objective, but it will be uptick in uptake. I don't know. You understand? I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You do? You agree?
You want to quantify it?
You could qualify or quantify it. You could, yes, it's just there.
All right, I will revisit it.
Please, I think so. I think there could be a better way to, I don't know, the mayor, I don't know what sort of evaluation they're supposed to do to really measure the outcome of the interventions, if there is any. But when you look at things like this, it's almost taken for granted. So if you want something more, you want you to use, if it's words or figures, to qualify some of this, that will be fine. Then your success factors were written, thank you for that. the challenges. The second one speak directly to it. It's more programmatic. The only thing that you didn't really like tell us what you did, you maybe something to mitigate, just like the previous speaker. There's anything that was done to address that challenge that you mentioned. If you go to challenges, where is it? Is that
global women absent from global women.
Yeah, 16.
Okay. So 16 the
that workers are very busy.
So was there, did you do anything to like
we
to say achieve the objective of your own
yes,
program?
we did. Yes. We had to suggest dates consistently to the executive secretary of the Edo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and then we had to reach a particular
So
date.
summarize that how that should be. So anybody reading this, okay, you encounter this problem, but you are able to navigate it this way. You are able to circumvent it this way. That's what I'm trying to say. Lack of ownership, yeah, but it's like a general administrative challenge. Outside wants to have more to that, but I think
Sorry, Telashi, I made you walk all the way. Okay, well done. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Welcome.
Chisom, please, can you go to the attributable changes? I know Tolashi has said some things, but I just want to point. Okay, what I have noted is listening to the presentation is concise, like you said, and it's well presented, but it still leaves me asking the question, what at every point of the presentation. So, for example, you spoke about modern approaches. I think it's good that we are specific when we're writing briefs like this. It helps because you know it's going to an external audience. The external audience will not know what these things are unless they are explained. So what are those modern approaches? For example, there was somewhere you wrote passing information to government. Yeah, I think information was passed to government on status of MNCH, right? So there was somewhere you wrote that, just giving you an example, that's nothing new. But what specific information did you pass on your project that is generating any kind of reaction from government? And then engagement with TBA. I just feel that most of these things are broad and generic. If you can be specific to what you did, engagement with TBAs, what kind of engagement? Engagement is a broad statement.
I think it's stated there. If you scroll to it.
Chisom, can you scroll to that part?
Probably go to 11 and see engagement up there. Okay, let's see.
Okay, I said engagement with TBS for synergy and collaboration with health workers in making more referrals to the PHCs for basic tests and during complications and risks.
Yeah, so what is the engagement? This is the outcome. The outcome is for synergy and collaboration. But what was that engagement? What was the new thing? A lot of people engage with TBAs. But what is it that you are doing? Yes, this is what it resulted into, right? That's synergy and collaboration, which is happening anyways, but what was it your project did? That's what I mean by being specific. That's specific. So instead of engagement,
training or something.
Well, depending on what you do, rather than engagement, what is that specific thing that was done? So, and then the same, like I said, all through it was a what question for me. And the objective of the project is to increase access, right?
Yes.
Increase access. But everything just looks like you're speaking more with government officials and facility health workers rather than community members who should, perhaps because we do not have what's it called, anything to tell us what the baseline is, and that makes it difficult for us to relate to whether, and that's what Tolashe meant when he was talking about what word did you use? uptick. Yes, uptick from what to what. So it's just one community. So if 10 women or 10 men or 10, well, it's maternal and child health, 10 women were accessing that facility before the intervention. How many now?
We are getting those data.
Exactly. So I think such kind of information would help, particularly because that's what your objective is saying, to increase. Yeah. So that's my general comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something I needed to say. Recall, Ma, that there is a community engagement. Actually, we are meeting with childbearing couples in 5 communities. We can't handle all the communities in the LGS, but we are engaging with about 20 couples per community, which gives us about 100 plus. But like I said, due to the wonderful work our project monitoring committee members are doing, we have inflow of couple. But at the end of the day, we are meeting with them, and the behavioral changes and the basic knowledge they need to have that will make them take their wives to PACs rather than TBAs, that knowledge is being passed across to them.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. You mentioned that project monitoring committee, and I wanted to ask. I had it written down. Is that new? Is that something that is newly? Is that a new, or is something that already exists and you use them in a different way?
New committee.
Oh, it's completely
Yes,
new,
completely
which is
new.
the innovation that Tolashe was talking about. So that's the innovation for this project. So it means you have constituted them,
yes,
and whether you are there or not, train them, yes, they will continue to ensure that they mobilize community. Yeah, thank you. That in itself is a big result.
Okay, I just wanted to just add my voice to the discussion. I don't know, when we look at the framework, and when you're talking about, when you're presenting, you were talking more about the context, like the question that Hafsat has asked you now and the explanation that you are giving. From a layman's perspective, if you are presenting this kind of framework, I would like to see what the problems are. For instance, if you are developing a concept note, you want to have a research-based information that tells me the problem. So if I'm reading your document, I'm looking at the problem. And so when you are presenting, I'm relating the problem to how you are resolving the problem. So that makes it easy for everyone to understand, and also limit the kind of question that for me I will be asking. Like Hafsat, I said, so what? When you say you are doing that. But if we have the problem statement, captured in your presentation, I don't know, Tolashe, I don't know what you think, but I think it will give us enough information as to, and engage with your own presentation. Just a thought.
I think because the way the compendium.
Yes, it's a template. It's a template.
So I was going to say
my proposal has all those.
Yeah, but because the way the compendium is written and because the way it should be captured succinctly, this can come in your major attributable changes. So you're saying increase in from X to X. So that gives the baseline and the change.
We are gathering the data, like I said.
Yes, actually the purpose or the objective will actually sort of encapsulates the challenge. We don't want them to be writing long story of challenges. But from the objective or the purpose, you can actually know what is the challenge. So from this one now, to increase access, I mean the issue is okay, low access or whatever. But the summary of what we're saying is you need to, for especially these attributable changes, you need to add flesh to them. So it's not just optic. So like we said, it's either you could qualify with words, you could, no, don't let us argue it because you just want to have one more presentation. Optic, it could be in words, it could be in number. So optic or optic from 5% to 35%, that will show an increase. Or you have another word. So that's why I said you need to qualify or quantify this your attributable changes and summarize that. So that's that's fine. Just take it. Please.
Okay, thank you.
Just take it, please. Yeah.
Let's
start for the
Thank you very much for those who were able to present. Because of time, we won't take all presentations. But we expect you to have learned one or two things from the conversation around the presentations that have been made, so that we can use that to improve on our work. By the time you finish that, you send the work to me. Please, those who have sent to Chison, if you didn't copy me, you have to send to me again. And again, those of us who have presented, I'm sure they made comments. So you need to use those comments to improve your work and send to me when we get to. Don't let me run after you. Let's try as much as possible. Let's try as much as possible to send the work to me. On that note, Chisom, what next? Okay, so on that note, I think we have come to the how do I put it now? The first component of this gathering, which is actually sharing knowledge and what have you. Then the second part of it will be happening much later. I think Chisom want to. Okay, yeah, okay. Chisom is going to speak to you all briefly, but I will allow the national program manager himself to give a vote of thanks. Thank you, sir.
Hello everyone.
You guys are not standing up.
We are the labor union. We are just that.
Oh,
we are the thunder. I'm not going to strike. You are the one that has the potential to strike. Thank you everyone. Once again, I hope you are finding value in this 1.5 days engagement.
Sure.
We did this out of selfishness for the program in terms of where you have invested. You also need to sort of see, and if you follow the kind of questions, comments that we are asking, you will realize that the desire is, we are looking at it from our head. But as I sat down there, I realized that even though our own plan was to get information for ourselves, I realized that if I were in your shoe, this would probably help me a lot more than even the actual program. Beyond here, the intention that I hope that you will be taking forward is also to begin to see how little change that you make within your organization is helping to transform you into that bigger space that you probably wouldn't have been able to do as a result of the little support that you gather. And so for us, we will not be able to say the program is making progress if you are not making progress. So that is where my own selfishness is actually very small. I think it's now yours that matter, because the progress that you record is what I'm going to go back to say to the EU to say, oh, see the money that you gave us. We gave part of it to this CSO group, and see how they have been able to turn it around. So I want to thank you. I was asking Newton as we were sitting down that the first set of NGOs that started implementing grant in Edo State, when was that? And I realized that it was only just about a year and a half. Some around January, January last year, and then the second set started. So it goes to show that if we have the potential, or if we have the support, the potential is already there. It's just something that needs to be galvanized. And I'm also very glad with the comments or information shared by my friend. I can't remember his name. 90% of grants that you applied for, you got it. Would that have happened if the organization was not exposed to some of the things that you were exposed to? Perhaps not, perhaps yes. But at least we are glad that we are part of that journey, and I'm very sure that wherever is sharing that experience, he will mention that EU ambassador. And I'll be so glad one day that we are sharing it and you don't know that EU ambassador is sitting in the room, and then you just share it that way, and then I receive a call and say, I just heard that this, and then I will be so elated. And that is the beauty of what we are doing. It's not just only for now. We are not going to be here for life. We have actually about a year left of this program for us. And between now and then, after then, we want to see the ripple effect continue. So this is helping us to sort of look at that holistically. And I'm glad also, interestingly, this was supposed to be an exchange sharing with Sokoto. It didn't happen. But over the past few days and in the next coming days, we are going to be able to have our experience from one location, with difference from the other. And part of what we are also doing, which this will help our program to do, the design for this program is iterative, adaptive learning. So if you know, the way we have engaged with you, we never came to you to say this is the solution that you must take. Even when we are providing this grant opportunity for you, say go, decide what you want to do, and align it. But we are not taking lessons back from you. Some of the challenges that you have highlighted, some of the lessons that you have, and recommendations that you are making, we are taking back, and we will go back when we are doing our own planning for this coming year and say these are the things coming from the field. How do we use this again to improve on our own end? So I'm glad that this is happening. So I just wanted to note that we appreciate you as much as you appreciate us as well. So it's a mutual relationship. So thank you very much. And then I hope you have come with your regalia as a so this evening I want to see, and my friend who loves Edo Babes, this evening want to see whether you can recount that memory. I don't know that. So thank you very much, and see you.
The time is 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock here, right? Yes. Okay, 6 o'clock, this same floor. Okay?
Please try to come early.
Okay, 5:30.
No. 6, between 6 and 6:30. Photographers will be here to take pictures in front of the.
It's 6 o'clock.
So please try to come early. So,
okay, those of you who want to get the CD for this 2-day event, at the end of the dinner party, you can meet Anita. Okay? Have a conversation with Anita. EU Arts Program Team. Anita has said they will provide some CDs for us for free.
Thank you.
Is there still break outside? And don't forget that we are not providing lunch today, but you're free to make your personal arrangements and then chat us through your effort.
So I think what you want to
Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, darling.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The program just ended for the first session. We'll be coming back by 6 o'clock for this dinner party and some other activities that will be taking place here today. For now, stay tuned. See you later in the evening. God bless you. This is GTV Nigeria. Thank you, thank you, thank you.